Thank you so much, Ben, for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to this panel. It's so popular. Oh my gosh, everyone's like been booking to come and see it. So obviously people are really interested in how FinTech is disrupting Wall Street. Why is that?
Why is that? Well, number one, I'd say the market opportunity. There's a lot of money on the line. Since 2008, it's clear that a whole generation of people kind of woke up and discovered all of a sudden how out of touch our financial services industry was with their changing needs and behaviors. And since then, clearly, those people have been searching for viable alternatives, all of which have still seemingly provided a partial fix. And so there's a lot of disruption that's occurring right now and a lot of momentum behind fintech companies that are kind of looking at these old problems and going, what technologies can we make recourse of that are relatively recent that the legacy players maybe are not, in order to, encroach upon, that terrain to try and leverage people's, active and in some ways very powerful search for a different way of performing finance, of doing finance, of being financial.
So tell me what drew you into the FinTech domain, and what was it, a passion or pain point that pulled you into building your business?
I guess so, yeah. So I grew up watching my family's boutique financial accounting firm walk small businesses through the friction-filled process of getting an SBA bank loan. So I know the pain points of small businesses well, which are the backbone of the U.S. economy. And it just seemed that, especially after 2008, there was an opportunity to make use of these recent advances in fintech-driven technological innovations to provide a better business model to solve the pain points of both small businesses, but also retail investors who are also looking for a more localized method of investing, something that can not just earn a good rate of return, but also do well. And so that drove me into starting my business, which was True North Business Exchange, which is a public capital market for buying and selling U.S. small business financial securities, trying to bring it above ground. So.
Fantastic. So what would you say has been the biggest challenges for you as regards being a FinTech business, being labelled a FinTech business, and raising investment or venture, or just trying to get the word out? Because obviously it is, it's trending, I know, but it still is outside the normal path.
Yeah, well, you start a consumer-facing business and you don't necessarily have a regulatory environment that you're working within, right? But I would, you starting, creating a better mousetrap for some enterprise industry, you're not necessarily dealing with the regulatory environment, but the two environments that are the most heavily regulated are the pharmaceutical industries and the financial industry. You can call it FinTech, but it's still going to be regulated. So I would say the biggest challenge is to get a product to market while still complying with the regulatory burdens that are shackling finance. It's been loosened up a little bit here and there in different environments, but we are still, even the FinTech, new cutting edge, scrappy startup companies, still having to maneuver the tricky legal terrain of a pre-existing regulatory environment that was created in some cases like 80 years ago. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge.
So really there's, in a way, as with any innovation, you're sort of having to educate and change the existing structures through your own companies, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Part of it is maneuvering. Obviously, increasingly as these fintech companies get more powerful, then they'll develop lobbying industries. You're seeing that, for instance, in the consumer and small business lending industry starting to do that. The digital lending platforms, we're starting to maybe get a little bit more organized, but with that. So possibly, but I'd say right now it's a lot of bob and weave, really, dodging and just making use of the existing structures that are there.
I love being involved in the FinTech community because I'm originally an Aussie and we're basically pioneers. And I'm seeing and meeting a lot of people that are really breaking new ground. So lovely to have you with us. Can you tell me if there's any funny story that comes to hand in all the work that you've obviously been doing?
Funny story, yeah. Just recently, actually, I had read a quote in a book by a venture capitalist and thought this guy actually could help answer some questions that I have about a specific thing. It really doesn't matter what the topic was. And so I actually asked him for advice. And he said, sure, come on in. I'll give you some advice. And when I sat down, I realized that I was supposed to be pitching to him. So the standard, trope that when you're supposed to be asking for advice, you're really raising money and so on. It turned out in this case that I was actually looking for advice and he was trying to give me money. So needless to say, I wasn't prepared for it, but I did get some handy advice.
And no money.
And no money, but I wasn't looking for it.
That's fabulous. That's a great story. Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to the panel tonight. I'm sure everyone's going to really enjoy it.
Well, thanks so much for having us.